Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa and I'm here today with a video that I've been dying to film. My favourite reads of 2019. 2019 wasn't a very good reading year for me. I read a total of 38 books, but some of these were mega long, and I read more bad books than good books. If you've seen in my last video, I read 28 books of this January alone, so I feel like if anything it's just spurred me to find more books that I really do enjoy reading, and I've read a lot of really great books. So I'm hoping that 2018 will be a better reading year than 2019, but I still read some really good ones. First off, I want to talk about this absolute monster of a book, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a mammoth book. I mean, look at my hand in this. It comes in at a staggering 800 pages, but it is absolutely worth every single minute that you spend reading this. This is a high fantasy book. Think of it as Game of Thrones level-esque. It has multiple characters in across a whole continent of places, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I also commend it for being the only high fantasy book that I've read that actually has an LGBT storyline for its main characters. There is not enough female relationships in fantasy books. I don't even know where to start with trying to explain what this book is about. The Priory of the Orange Tree is about multiple different characters' experiences, but I'm going to just probably talk about the main storyline that's sort of running throughout. I think the best thing to do is probably read the synopsis and just see what it tells you in the synopsis, so I'm not giving away too many spoilers. So our main-ish character is working in the court of a foreign queen who's called Queen Sabran. Queen Sabran is a young queen who's quite naive and relies on the advice of those around her. Our main character is from a distant land where she was gifted to the queen for her to work in her services. However, she is a spy for a secret society, sort of, which is known as the Priory of the Orange Tree. The orange tree is an ancient tree which gives the bearer of its fruits abilities, magical abilities, but it's not sort of referred to as magic, it's referred to as something else. And our main character has this ability. It is largely believed that the Queen's presence and those of her parents and her grandparents and those that ruled before her, of her family name, is keeping this evil wyvern, I think that's how you pronounce it, at bay and keeping them asleep. Think of it sort of like Lord of the Rings, where the main evil guy is at rest in this certain place. So he was defeated about 1,000 years ago by, which believed to be by the Queen's ancestor, and if her house line was to come to an end, he would wake and start his reign of terror again. Although his influence is starting to trickle into other lands, so they believe that her house is becoming weak. There is so much to it that is literally only like a tenth of what's going on. You have another continent across the ocean which is freely aligned with dragons and is using them as their friends, which the people on the main continent think is a really bad thing because they are very scared of bad wyverns and they sort of see dragons as too related to them. So there is so much going on, but it's so well done. The history is so drawn out. This is definitely a universe that I would want to go back in. Samantha has said that this is to be a standalone, and she made it this way. It's not part of a series, and I sort of like that about it because then everything is tied up nicely. You don't get to the end of a very long read and think, oh, I need to read so much more to find out what happens. Everything that you need to know is in this. There is no unanswered questions. This is now out on paperback in Waterstones. It is now on buy one get one free in Waterstones, and for that price, honestly, that is an absolute bargain because you are getting so much reading material for that price, and you are just getting so much into it. The author must have been working on this for absolutely years, and you can tell it's well written, it's well edited, and it's never boring, which is very hard in a book that is this long. Another book that I read and really liked was Children of Blood and Bone, and can I just say, right, that I found the sequel as a hardback in a secondhand bookstore, and it's brand new and it is just out I mean, who was getting this and giving this away? And I got it for free because I'd taken books I didn't want anymore and got credit for it. Barter Books and Anik, you are the best. Children of Blood and Bone is another high fantasy series by a female author. What is so different about this is it is set in Africa, but it has its own world in the way that Priory does as well. There is a whole society of magic and whole history of war, and the characters are well fleshed out. Although unlike Priory, this is a series, so you don't just get to read the first novel and then have your questions answered. It just left me with so many questions that I absolutely needed to find out. It is quite lengthy at 544 pages, but again, I was just never bored with any of them. Our main character is a magi, and she's part of a very unique, very well developed magical system. If I remember correctly, because it has been a year since I read this, only females are born with the powers. I don't think males have the power. There is like 7 or 8 categories for magi. So for example, the main character's mother was blessed with the gift of death. She is known as a reaper, and she is able to bring back the souls of those that are dead. So their magic is very, very powerful. The main character has recently lived through a genocide which saw her own mother killed because the king has seen magi as being too powerful, so he wants to get rid of their power altogether, so they are not a threat to him. This book was just absolutely non-stop adventure. Just when you thought that so much had happened that it was bound to end now, something else would happen, it just kept going and going and going, and it had so many arcs. Like, it didn't just sort of get good and then like ease off the pedal. It got very exciting, then eased off, very exciting, then eased off, very exciting, and eased off. So I thought it was very, very well written, and again, you are getting a lot for your money. It has a very high rating on Goodreads, and it absolutely deserves it. So if you do like high fantasy books that are very original in the world that they create, I highly recommend them too. I also read quite a lot of crime this year and came across 2 new crime authors which I had previously never heard. Read their books and rated them both 5 stars. And for crime, I think it is quite hard to write a 5-star novel, so I am going to talk about them now. So the first one that I read was The Puppet Show by M.W. Craven. This is book 1 in the Wash It and Pour series, but I did straight away go out and buy book 2 and read it. I would highly recommend this for fans of J.K. Rowling's crime series, which she writes under her pseudonym. It's a crime series that has fantastically well developed characters. So our main detective, Wash It and Pour, is a little bit like Cobra and Strike in the way that he's very flawed, but he does a very great job. His sidekick is called Tilly. She's also a very memorable character, but unlike Robin in J.K. Rowling series, she's very highly able, but slightly autistic in a way. So even though that she is a fantastic mind, she is gravely picked on by people that are also working for the crime company or who are just generally out and about in their daily lives. And the relationship that Wash It and Tilly have is so beautiful. They've become the best but unlikely best friends, and together they are an unstoppable force. The actual crime plot itself it will leave you guessing to the end. It's definitely not predictable in any way, and I absolutely ate this up. It's quite long, but I read it in a day because I just had to know who had done it. So for fans of the crime genre who haven't read this, please pick it up, because the characters are absolutely fantastic, and I guarantee you will want to pick the second one up straight away. Every single person I know personally who has read it has absolutely loved it. My grandma actually named a goldfish Wash It and Tilly because she loved the characters so much. Do I say that I like them better than Cormoran and Robin? You know what, I do. I like them better than Cormoran, Strike and Robin. Another new author that I found for crime was Chris Carter, and I read The Crucifix Killer, which is book 1 in the Robert Hunter series. This does have an American setting, whereas the other one, I didn't say, was a British setting, so it had that sort of crimey grit to it that I like from crime novels. However, this guy, Robert Hunter, is a more polished, good-looking, well-dressed professional detective. However, what made this stand out the most was the way that the crime was written. The crime itself was really great. I had an inkling halfway who had done it, but I didn't expected it to unfold the way it did. In this one there is multiple murders that have been done in a ritualistic, satanic way. However, there is an underlying theme to the way that all of these crimes are committed, and they do believe that it is a serial killer who was active a couple of decades ago who has come back and is now committing crimes again. Robert Hunter is assigned to the case because he was assigned to the initial wave of murders. However, he did botch up the investigation and the media don't like him very much. It was definitely entertaining. I wouldn't say I liked it as much as the other one, but they were completely different reads. And one of them was very gritty, a British. Washington was definitely not what you expect in a hero, whereas Robert Hunter is very polished American, very fancy. But it does also have that element where he makes unlikely friendships with the person who he's doing the investigating with, who is new to the job, and Robert thinks he's highly underqualified. But obviously, you know how that turns out. So if you are a fan of crime, I'd highly recommend getting them if you can. Another book which I've been wanting to read for a while and I finally found in a second-hand shop was This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. This is a very quick read, which is a young adult contemporary. It does have romantic undertones, but mainly it's about developing friendships in unlikely places. The main character, Elise, is an American teenager who is woefully unpopular at school, but finds unexpected love in DJing. I really like that this book sort of tells you that no matter what your hobby is, it's worth pursuing, even if it just seems so unlikely and you think that people will pick on you for it or will bully you for it. Pursue it because you don't know what can come of it. I mean, someone in my real life would probably be watching this and thinking, oh god, what's she doing? Who does she think she is? But this is what I enjoy doing, and that's the premise of the entire book, and I really enjoyed it. And lastly, another of my 5-star reads was Eve of Man by Mr. and Mrs. Fletcher. If you don't know anything about this book, you still might recognise the authors. Tom Fletcher is from British band McFly. Giovanna, his wife, has also previously written books as well. This is a fantastic young adult fantasy which is quite relatively short but has a lot going on in it, has a lot of detail. This book is quite hard to explain. I've been trying to do this for quite a while. Eve is the last girl on Earth. She's 16 years old and she's the last female to be born of her generation. So she lives in a high tower where she's protected from everything else that's going on in the world. As you can imagine, it's sort of futuristic and life in Earth isn't going too great. There's civil war, there's unrest that's flooding, there is natural disasters which have just made the world totally uninhabitable. So Eve is protected from all of that and she's given a very sheltered life. She's looked after by women who you later come to realise aren't there to give her the motherly love that she needs. They're there as more as protectors to keep her there from running away. The best way I can describe this book is by saying, if you have played BioShock Infinite, you will love this book because they have very similar storylines. And I'm really hoping someone backs me up in the comments on this, because when I tell people, did you not think it was so much like BioShock Infinite? They are like, never played it. So I'm really hoping that someone else enjoys books and games and is able to confirm that they also thought that this was like BioShock Infinite. Since reading this, I've been eagerly awaiting the second book. It is just absolutely great. It's a great adventure. The characters are well fleshed out. The world building is absolutely fantastic. Would also recommend this for fans of Cinder, as in the Lunar Chronicles. If you enjoyed that, you will definitely enjoy this as well. So those are the best books that I read in 2019. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it educational or informational or entertaining, please consider leaving this video a like, because it really helps me when it comes to me approaching publishers to work with them about their upcoming books. And if you want to see more from me, please also consider subscribing so you don't miss any future uploads. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to leave you with this. Please leave a comment. Let me know what your favourite read of 2019 is and what you think I would enjoy reading based on the suggestions that I've given you as well. So I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!